Hello and welcome, everyone. Today I'm talking with Nicole Colella, also known as Card Shaper. Nicole's a professional member of the Tarot Guild, certified tarot professional, and now published author. Her first book, Kickstart Your Tarot Business, A Professional's Guide to Building Your Business, just launched this past week. Welcome to Tarot Today, Nicole.
Thank you for having me, Dax.
I'm excited to talk to you today and about your book because, when I started, we won't reveal how many decades ago that was. There was only a handful of tarot books, like 78 Degrees of Wisdom by Rachel Pollack, who we just lost April 7th. And it's very sad. The day after your book launched,
Yeah.
actually. Yeah. But today, there's hundreds and hundreds of books on the market. How-to books, Tarot 101 books. That seems like what the majority of them are. So books like this that are in, especially the business niche, are hard to find. In fact, I was racking my brain earlier today and wrote down a couple that I could think of off the top of my head. Professional Tarot from 2003 by Christine Jett, Fortune Stellar by Certified Tarot Grandmaster Christiana Gaudet from 2017. You've Got the Magic, Who Needs the Genie by Certified Tarot Master Corby Mitleid from 2020. There's probably, two or three or four other ones out there, maybe, but I doubt it. I can't think of them. I can't. So this is really exciting. But before we get into your book, I know what everybody is wondering, how did you get started on your tarot journey?
Oh,
Everybody wants to know.
so it was the pandemic. Yeah, it was a pandemic, and we were kind of all locked in for quarantine. And I decided to join one of those like witch box of the month clubs.
Oh, wow.
And the very first box that I got, it was July of 21. The very first box I got, it was a full tarot deck in it, and I was like,
Oh.
oh, okay. I guess this is what I need to learn because it was strange. And I say that, okay, that's the tarot journey. That's where it started. But before that, I had only two Oracle decks.
Mhm.
And it was one was like, what's your vibe or something? And then the other one was like the Namaste deck. And it had
Oh,
like
yeah.
inspirational. Okay, so you know which two I'm talking about. And I had those decks for about 5 or 6 years, and I'd pick them up and I'd play with them, and I'd go through spurts here and there for like a month or two, and I'd do daily polls. But I never made the connection as to, you know, I'm receiving information from spirit. Like I never ever made that connection. And I just always thought, oh, wow, it's really cool because these cards always tell me what I need to hear. And I was always freaked out about the cards with the tarot of like the devil and death, and
Mm.
I was just like, they were always intimidating. And I was like, oh, I never want to, read the tower or get a tarot reading because, those cards will come up and or they're really scary. And then once that deck showed up, I was like, well, I think this is, a path I have to go on. There's really nothing I'm doing in life right now.
The universe was like, here it is, Nicole.
Yes, yes. And that was the thing. And I just jumped in.
Awesome. So that wasn't very long ago. We always hear about people, well, it was 1947 and I got my first tarot deck. And yeah,
Yeah,
this is
no, it was
exciting.
very, yeah, it was very, very quick for me.
Hmm.
Um I I had basically I bought a book. It was Tarot Interactions from Deborah Lipp.
Mm.
And that's one of my favorite books actually. And I got about 6 pages in, and in the book it said, look, if you don't know the definitions of the tarot and you don't already know, like, this is a next level book, you have to like close the
Oh.
book and go get another one. And I was so frustrated at that point because it was very overwhelming that there were so many tarot books on the market. Like when I went on Amazon, I'm like, my brain's gonna explode. I don't know what I want. And I literally typed in easiest way to learn tarot, and
Mm.
Dusty White's book came up. And I'm like, okay, then this is it. Like, if it's the easiest way to learn the tarot, I'm in. And then I
I
got
have
the,
his book. Yes, I way back in the day, I remember interviewing him. Love
yeah.
Dusty. Yeah.
So I got the book. The book arrived, and again, I opened up the cover, wrote the date down, and
Mm.
I kind of let the book sit for a little while. I didn't really start, like I said, I had the deck, and then I let everything sit until like about October. And then I was like, okay, you know what? I really need to start taking this seriously.
Ah.
And I opened the book, and the first page, you know, he asks you to like write the date. So it's like a launch, and it gets you excited.
Mm-hmm.
And underneath the date, it said, if you do not have a tarot instructor, go here. And it was the website. And
Oh.
there was 8 free classes and that were pre-recorded. And they kind of gave you an introduction to the major and minor arcana. And they gave you a taste of what like the roundabout spread is and the Celtic cross, but it wasn't enough to be able to connect all the dots. And
Mm.
I was just like, okay, forget it. I'm joining up for the school. Like I got through those classes, and I was like, I got to do the school. And that's basically, yeah. So I went through his entire program, and then I graduated October of 22 from the program, and I
Yeah.
became certified under Dusty.
Now you got me wondering. I wonder how many people got started with tarot because of COVID, because of the pandemic going
I,
on.
I
They're
know.
all
It's
stuck at home, and it's like, oh, I'm going to study tarot. You know, there's probably a lot.
There's a lot. I mean, I believe the community itself grew exponentially
Mm-hmm.
during COVID, you know, because a lot of people, when I do readings, I
Mm-hmm.
come across like I do readings from a healing perspective and like a shadow work kind of perspective. And
Mm.
there's so many people that say that their lives have changed in a spiritual realm since
Oh,
2020. And I'm one of them. I'm definitely, I can say I'm part of that group.
yeah. So, healing yourself and healing others at the same time. Well, what made you want to go professional though, and do it professionally?
Well, here was that's a great question, Dax.
Not everybody does that.
Yeah, well, you know what it was? I've started and had so many different businesses through the years. I've been with my husband going on like 26 years this year. Yeah.
Mm,
So he's known me he's known me through all my little quirky
wow.
phases. Yeah, and when I was studying the tarot, he's like, "Not another business, Nicole." I'm like, "No, no, 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 no. This is just for me. Like, I'm just doing my thing. Like, this is for me to
It's
learn. Like, people,
okay. It's
exactly.
okay.
People are gonna think I'm weird if I do this anyway. No, 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 no." And I got to the part of the training under Dusty where he says you have to go out and do 100 readings,
Mm,
whether you want to become a professional or not. You need to get out there and do 100 readings to put yourself out there and get used to different people, different circumstances, different situations, and reading with your own, like, your own body. Like, oh, you got to read when you're hungry, and you read when you're tired, and you read, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like you basically put yourself through the paces as well. And I decided my Aries self to be the overachiever.
uh,
And I started reading for other tarot readers, and I started reading for
wow.
mediums, and I started reading, yeah, and I got about 10 to 15 readings in, and it was amazing how everybody was reacting the same way. They were like, "Oh my god, this is like
Oh,
insane. You're so accurate, blah blah blah." And the feedback just kept coming, and there were, I read a professional tarot reader, and she actually reads like online, like she does the TikTok
mm-hmm.
reading, stuff like
Oh,
that.
yeah.
She turned to me and she was like, if you do not do this, you are leaving so much on the table because you literally have a career. You're talented enough to have a career. And I was like, oh my God. And I was like, oh, okay. And, I sat there and I said, well, I have everything I already need. Like, I have a deck of cards and a Zoom link. It's like there wasn't so much of an investment like when I had a sorry, I'm pausing here. When I was a professional photographer, like
Mm-hmm.
I needed like $10,000 in equipment. I mean, and your equipment is literally a pack of cards and a notebook. So it just felt like very natural for me to progress and just say, well, what the heck? I'll just do it and see what happens. And here
Mm.
we are.
Plus, you walk into any room, and if you reveal that you're a tarot reader, instantly you're the most popular person there at a party or whatever. I also do hypnotherapy, and those are the two things. If you say you're a hypnotist or you say you're a tarot reader, instantly you're the hit of the party. Everybody has to talk to you.
It's true. It's true.
Oh boy, wow, interesting. And so a lot of that happened really quickly.
It did.
Um, so I gotta ask, because we always want to know, looking at that journey, then how did you find the Tarot Guild? And why did you decide to join and get certified?
Because, well, I was doing the readings, and but I don't want to say I wasn't sure of myself.
Mm-hmm.
Before we met, I actually found the Tarot Guild on LinkedIn.
Oh, wow.
Believe it
LinkedIn of
or
all
not.
places. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I found the Tarot Guild on LinkedIn, and because it was before I actually came back to social media.
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to like gradually make little steps back, dipping my toe in the water. And I just happened to go on LinkedIn and put in tarot, and I found the Tarot Guild, and I started watching videos and interviews, and I thought everything was so interesting, and I really liked the community that you had created. And then I saw that there was a certification program, and what happened was I was doing my 100 free readings, and people were telling me, I want to pay you, I want to pay you. And then I kind of like panicked a little bit because I'm like, well, apparently I'm not going to get certified for like another 6 months to a year down the road with Dusty. Like, I need to have something for my own peace of mind that, yes, I can do this. And I
Mm-hmm.
just kind of wanted that like stamp of approval, as crazy as that sounds. But it gave me the confidence to go forward again to take the next steps.
Well, lot of people tell us that, though. They tell us that's, one of the major reasons that they want to get certified. And it's a confidence thing. And it's also the stamp of approval. Certification is not such a big thing in other parts of the world, although we've got folks that have gotten certified at the Tarot Guild from everywhere, Asia, Japan, Southeast Asia, Korea, Vietnam, China, and all of Europe, as well. And Canada and Australia and New Zealand and everything. But it's not such a big thing as here in the States. Being certified, is much bigger of a deal, really. And you know, most most clients never look at that, really, but the readers want it. And for a long time, there was no way to get certified. That there was no certification program. And then some teachers, like Dusty and a few others, started uh, teaching courses and certifying through their course. So you'd finish your course and you'd get certified. But as far as there being a board of certification, that kind of thing, we're not a regulated industry, so
No,
you don't need to be certified. But folks want that. And we actually, at the guild, many many years ago, stopped doing certification. And the members actually were the ones that begged us to bring it back and do it again, because they wanted it. And so we brought it back. But all the boards that existed way back in the day, long before you got onto the scene here, they've all disappeared, gone away. there was the American board and the Canadian board and the German board, and I think most of them are defunct now.
Yeah,
That
I
was
mean, I was definitely impressed that you had like a long track record. It wasn't like you
mm,
were around 3 years certifying people,
yeah.
It's like, and
2004,
yeah,
2004. It's like
yeah,
it's going to be 20 years shortly.
yeah.
It's like, oh my God, 20 years. I've really been doing this for 20 years. Yeah, I watched my hair turn gray. Um, wow. Yeah. But what was I going to say? What I used to do w- when we stopped doing certification at the guild, I started sending people to the Canadian board. It's like, this is where you go and get certified. Um, and there was reasons why I did that, and didn't send them to the board in the United States. Won't go into that controversy, but that board, the American board, went defunct anyway, but then the Canadian one did. So that was
Wow.
another part of it, was there's no longer any boards I can send people to, at least in the English speaking world. I mean, I couldn't find any. uh and some of the organizations, Tabby and the Australian Tarot Guild and so forth, had certification for their members and everything, but there was never like this whole like international certification, which is what people wanted. They wanted
Right.
an organization they could go to that wasn't country specific necessarily. And so then we brought the certification back. Yeah. So
Yeah,
you went through.
I'm part of Tabby as well, but I feel
Mhm.
like we're on the other side of the pond, so there's a disconnect, you know.
Right, right. Yeah.
So it's a little bit, like they have stuff that it's like, oh, we can't, you know, I'd like love to like review decks and stuff, and they're like, well, we can't get it there because of customs, and I'm like, oh,
Mm,
okay. Like, so there's only so much I can participate in because of that, because of the distance.
mhm.
So, that's why I prefer to, stay with the Tarot Guild.
Yeah. And even in the States, we had the American Tarot Association, the ATA, but
Mhm.
they don't certify. They never did. I was a member of the ATA way back 20 years ago, and Tabby too, and the Australian Tarot Guild, and but there was no organization that wasn't country specific, really. And that's actually how we ended up forming the Tarot Guild in the first place. A lot of us that would get together. This was in San Diego, actually. We had about 400 members of a local tarot meetup in San
Wow.
Diego. And we all were sitting around talking about, yeah, I'm a member of the ATA, I'm a member of Tabby, blah, blah, blah. But there's no real, professionals organization, no guild. And that's where the word came from. We went, oh, guild. We need to start a tarot guild. And that's how that started back in 2004. Yeah. So why a book? Okay. And oh, I'm getting a phone call. I love it. Maybe I can edit this part out. Let's start from the top on that question there. Hold on a second. So why a book? I'm curious how that came about.
Wow. I am too, actually. Well, what happened was, um, so Dusty also has like his own group for students, like a forum, and
Mm-hmm.
we have study groups where we meet weekly with moderators and things like that. And what was happening was I was getting into these moderator groups, and I'm studying as a student, and then I'd start mentioning, oh, well, I'm doing this, and they're like, oh, and then they'd ask me more questions, and then I'd tell them what I was doing, and it was kind of like one of those, like, those moments where it just hits you over the head, and it's like, well, I keep telling everybody the same thing over and over. It'd be so much easier if I just wrote a book. and, and that's what I did. I just decided to sit down and pretend that I started the business all over again. And I walked through every step and every consideration that I made, and I just put it out on paper.
Yeah, yeah.
A lot of questions, a lot of the same questions that I kept fielding from, other study members. So that's where it came out
Yeah,
of.
because you had run your own businesses before, and so I kind of fell into the same thing where, um, because I had run coffee houses and owned coffee businesses for years, I had all of the, um, starting your own business, LLC, naming, and all the uh, technical kind of part of it. And everybody would always ask me those questions too, you know, how do I do this? How do I do that? What's the best way to do this?
Hmm.
How should I name my business? And do I need to be an LLC? What about an S corp? What about sole proprietorship? Things like that. And over the years, I've done workshops and classes where at the guild where I've taught that information. Never put it into a book though. Which reminds me, we need to do a workshop on this because
Okay.
it's been a while. We could
All
do
right.
Kickstart Your Tarot Business workshop at the guild for our members. That would be really cool.
Yeah,
Uh,
I'd love it.
and this is the part that I find to be kind of missing is, and why I'm glad that you wrote the book, because um, people will be really great readers, whether they've been doing it for 2 years or 20 years, but they don't have a clue how to start a business, run a business.
Yes.
There's so much to it. And so I think that professional readers really need something like this. So that's why I was really excited when you told me you were writing the book. The funny thing about it was I was just doing some research on that, just out of my own curiosity. I do that all the time. I'm on YouTube and I'm like, I wonder what else other people have said about starting and running your own tarot business. And so, like, I'm watching some YouTube videos, seeing what people were saying. There was a couple of good ones, but a lot of them were like, really, you're not really talking business. You're telling people, make sure you get this crystal and then make sure you do this. And, and that's more like, setting up your space. It's not how to
Right.
start a business and run a business.
Mhm.
So I'm looking at these videos, and a couple of days later, I get this message from you. I'm launching a book. And when you told me what the book was, I was like, you've got to be kidding me. I mean, that synchronicity, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Yep. It's not coincidence. It's not coincidence.
No.
And so how long did that take you to write the book? And it seemed like it went pretty quick.
It did. I'd have to say I started writing down ideas in like the end of September, the beginning of October.
Hmm.
And then I I was like writing, and then I took a break for a couple months, and then I was like, you know what? I really like the beginning of like 23. I was like, you know what? I got to get this done. Like it's it. And I sat down, and in like about 2.5 weeks, I just decided every day I'm going to sit down and I'm going to write. And I just plowed through it.
Oh,
And I
that's
was
awesome.
nervous. Yeah, and I was nervous. I was definitely nervous because I wasn't quite sure like how it would be received by
Mm.
other professionals in the industry and stuff. And everybody was just really excited about the idea. They were really excited to preview the book. So, and I got amazing feedback, which was another like bolster.
Yeah, I saw
you know
some of the great feedback, I
yeah.
mean, Dusty, of course, but, like Sasha Graham and so forth. That was
Mhm.
really exciting to see. And um oh, I know what I wanted to ask you was, of course, about getting it published. I mean, that's always the big thing. And if you've not published a book before, that it's another aspect of the tarot business, publishing decks, publishing books. So you self-publish, right?
I did. I self-published through Amazon. Dusty gave me some pointers.
Oh, good.
but but yeah, but we basically we had it I had we had it formatted through somebody on Fiverr. So they
Mhm.
helped us. So I wrote it in, I don't know if anybody like wants those details, but I
Fiverr
wrote
is
it
your friend. Oh,
Fiverr.
trust me, there are people watching right now. They want the details.
Okay.
Yeah, they
So I
because they're
wrote it.
thinking of writing a book.
Yeah. So basically I literally wrote it on my tablet. Like, as crazy
Mm,
as that sounds, I had a Bluetooth keyboard to
mhm.
it, and I wrote it on Scrivener. It's an app. And with Scrivener, it's awesome because you're able to export it as either Word, PDF, into Pages. Um, and I think it also could do like an EPUB kind of book. So if you want to do it for like a Kindle, if you want to format it for the Kindle, you can do that too. But then we had it formatted in addition.
Mm.
And as far as editing, I edit it over and over. I must have edited it like 20 times. But then I ran it through Pro Writing Aid.
Mhm.
So that was, how I did the editing.
Awesome. So, do you think self-publishing versus going through a traditional um publishing house, do you have any thoughts on that? Like what's preferable, and why self-publish? Anything on that at all you want to share?
Yeah, well, you know what? I was so green to it all
Hmm.
that I had no idea what was even going on. And um I'd listened to a presentation. It was a free presentation by Hay House about like how to get your book published.
Mm.
And they talked about, oh, well, you have to submit it and then you have to do this, but we like to change things. And I'm like, I don't want to be gate kept. Like,
Yeah.
like, why? This was my experience, and this is where, like, this is my personal journey and what worked for me, and I want to share that with other people. Like, I don't want you editing anything out, like, or telling me that I have to include this when it's not really what went on. So it kind of, and it also shortened the time period from me finishing the book to actually getting it printed and getting it published.
Right. Yeah, you don't have to go
So,
through that whole cycle.
right, right. And then a lot
Be a
of times,
year.
yeah. I was not, I'm an Aries. I am super impatient. So that was like part of the whole thing. Like, I didn't want to be gate kept. And that the other respect is like, they end up, I feel like I said, this is just my personal opinion and what
Mhm.
I've observed, but I feel like when you work with a publisher, it's almost like you get nickel and dimed everywhere.
Mm.
Like, we'll give you a check, but then you might not see anything else after that check.
Yeah.
And, because, oh, well, there's an expense for this and there's an expense for that and there's expense for here. And I'm like, I don't want to be like, no, no, I just want it out there. And I want, yes, I think the publisher, if you need advertising and you need like it's good for that. It's good to get
They
exposure.
they don't even do that anymore. I mean,
Really.
yes, they do like press releases. They will get it into some bookstores, which there's not a lot. I mean, I can remember, many decades ago, I practically lived in the tarot section of Barnes and Noble, and Borders books and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, even here in Tucson, we still have a Barnes and Noble. Borders has been gone for a long time. Um the books, there aren't the bookstores like there were back in the day. And I think you're getting very little, you know, uh maybe as far as mass publishing quickly. Um But now that we have print on demand, that kind of really has taken away from why it would be good to get a publisher, or actually there was for a long time there was no other way,
Mhm.
I mean, unless you were going to mortgage your house to get thousands of books or hundreds and hundreds of decks published. um and people still do that, and they create a deck, and um they have a they find like the cheapest way to get it published is, say, a company in China, and then they'll have to pay to get it produced and then shipped over here, and then your garage is filled with thousands of decks, which you have to get out and everything. but
Yeah.
now, but now there's print on demand for decks and for books, and more and more people are going that way. You get a higher percentage of the sale, in fact the majority of the sale, whereas you sign your rights over to a publisher. I mean,
Right.
are you going to get $1 a book, $1 um a deck, and those residuals are after any,
Pay back what they pay you in advance.
right, after you've paid your advance back. You have to pay the
Right.
advance back, and the advances aren't huge, especially on like, we're not talking about a Tom Clancy or something, we're talking about a tarot book or a tarot deck, so um
And
self-publishing
that's,
seems to be the way to go.
yeah, I mean, and that's the interesting part about it too, because it's like there weren't books like this out there, and it almost
Mhm.
made me question, like, would they even find it of value?
Mm.
Because they're so there's it's almost like it's like a niche of a niche,
Right,
because
right.
there's people that read tarot, but there's not people that want to turn it into a business. So it's a very finite
Yeah.
niche of clients or customers that I'm writing to.
Hmm. And plus a short form book like this one really lends itself to Kindle and to print on demand, through Amazon. And that's one of the great things about this is that it's so niched that it's a quick, easy read. It's right, and when I read it, it's like, wow, straight to the point, no fluff, no filler, which I hate in books. I just give me the information, you know.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And there is a trend now towards that, like
Mhm.
removing that, because it's not, like, I look at it as more of like you can use it as a guide, like write in it,
Mhm.
cross things out, like make check marks, like
I love that. Yeah.
it's your tool to get you where you need to go, because you're like, okay, it's this step, and then it's this step, and then it's this step, and then there's room for your imagination and your style, and to be plugged in. So it wasn't it's fluid for everybody, that they can alter it to make it work for them.
Mm. Mm. So what would you say is like the big takeaway or some of the big takeaways from your book? I think what I thought reading through it is just the preparation, uh, just don't just put your shingle out there, but really think about it, and
Absolutely.
I think reading your book and reading the business parts, especially about entities and things like that, how to structure the business and things, really is great just reading through it, because then it starts a conversation in your head. But what are your ideas on takeaways from the book?
My biggest takeaway from the book, and partially is the reason why I wrote it, is to, rise the tide for all the boats.
Mm.
Um, because we really have to, in an industry that's so saturated right now,
Hmm.
there has to be a level of professionalism. There has to be a way that we can separate the real business people and the real readers from the ones who are out there to scam you. I mean, and that's not to say that If somebody's out there to scam you, they'll make an LLC and they'll do the whole thing too. But just like we have certification to
Mhm.
separate us from other tarot readers, there should be some kind of level of professionalism if you decide to become a professional reader. And
Yes.
that's what I'm there to do, is to help people. And I know that there are so many people, and I'm not picking on the spiritual community, please believe me. But like there are so many people that are like, oh, I just want to do this, and they don't think about the ramifications down the road.
Yeah.
They don't think about, oh my God, somebody could sue me, or they don't
Mhm.
think about, well, I need insurance because if I go somewhere and I break something or somebody trips and they want to sue me, I'm not protected.
Mhm.
And these are the kinds of things that a lot of people have really good intentions to start off and do something or make a little bit of money on the side or to help people, but they don't realize that there's some real life ramifications if things are not set up and done correctly, especially even with
Mhm.
taxes, you know? And I feel that the book helps alleviate or at least bring to light some of those um, circumstances where you really do need to address them and think about them because people don't.
Right, right. I mean, and that's basically what we've been trying to do at the guild for almost 20 years now, and it's like herding cats. And
Yeah.
tarot readers, yeah, it's like herding cats. And 50% of the industry doesn't believe in certification. Some of them are, vehemently against it, right? And then the other 50%, especially newer folks like yourself and younger readers, they all want the certification, you know, and but for decades there's been this huge argument in the industry, and quite frankly, I never got it. And it was so bad in the beginning that's why after like a year or two we just stopped doing certification all the way to 2015, 2016 before we started doing it again. From 2010, I mean, years went by. Uh Probably 4 or 5 years at least, and I never really understood it. Yeah, okay. You don't want to get certified, and we're not a regulated industry. You don't have to get certified. I understand that. And if you really don't believe in it, that's fine. But what about the people that want it?
Right.
Shouldn't they be able to get it? And nobody's telling you have to get certified, and nobody's telling you how to run your business or how you have to do your readings. In fact, we're very specific about that. If you read our section on the website about certification, that when we're doing evaluation for certification, we're not looking at what deck you're using, what spread you're using, what your system or modality of doing, your process. We don't judge on things like that. It's just, is this a professional level reading? Would I come back to this reader? Would I recommend this reader to family and friends? What did I get out of this reading? That's what we're looking at. And it's a quick process too, because which you found out, because if you're going through a certification program like Dusty's, and it's going to take years, before you finish and get certified, um this is not that. This is uh actual certification, where it's based on your ability to give a professional reading, and
Hmm.
that's it. And then we have higher levels of certification, but those are not tested levels. You're not being tested on, um, for instance, in our first level, the CTR, we do an exam. I call it an exam, the CTR exam, but it's actually more like a short quiz.
Yes.
It's just quick,
And you
22.
were blown away that I got a perfect score too.
Yes, one of the only people ever to get a perfect score. But most people do fairly well because number one, it's open book. Number two, it's only 22 questions plus 2 bonus questions that anybody can look up. The the idea is not, testing you. The idea is, do they have general tarot knowledge? They didn't just pick up a deck and don't know anything about the tarot. So we ask a few questions that are designed to reveal that information. And it's very easy for the average person that's, done some study and done some readings. And then we do a practical reading test. Can you perform a professional level reading? And that whole process, that whole certification process can happen real quick, because it's not about, taking a course, learning how to read, doing the 100 practice readings, getting evaluated and all this, and some people's courses take anywhere from 8 months to a couple of years. This is like more like the American Dental Association or the American Medical Association. It's getting certified after you've gone through all that, after you're already reading, you feel confident enough that, but you want some more confidence, because that's a lot of reason why people get certified. But it's you're at the point where it's like, okay, I'm gonna apply to get certified. And the other thing about the business aspect, also, we've tried to do that, since way back in 2004, to teach business. We have a director of professional development, Gary Karp, and in fact, he's about to do a free workshop on the 23rd as well. And I've always thought we need more of this, more of this.
Yeah, I actually took one of his workshops
Oh, cool.
I think it was last year.
Yeah, it was a year ago.
Yeah, yeah. And it was funny because I like took it and I walked away and my head felt like it was going to explode. There was like
A
so
lot of
much
business
information.
information.
Yeah, there was so much information and there was so much to absorb. And I feel like my book might be like that for some people too,
Mm-hmm.
but I feel like I break it down into like baby steps, but like I was overwhelmed too, because when I went, especially when he was like, you have to know your niche. And I'm like, ah, so because it's like,
What's
I
my
mean,
niche?
exactly. I even go through that in my book too. But instead of being like, you have to figure out your niche, which is just so very overwhelming because
Mm,
it's like, well, I'm just reading. Like, I actually set up steps in there of how you can learn what your niche is or how you can
mm.
discover what your niche actually is,
That's
which
really important.
is a vital step. It really is. And I just so happened to happen. It just happened by luck that I figured it out. But yeah, so it's a process. It's not just that you're going to sit down and say, oh, well, this is the kind of reader I am and this is what I want to read. And that's what you should be using those. I explain that's what you should really be using those 100 readings for, is to
Yeah.
really discover yourself in that.
Yeah. It's like automatic niching, because you're doing all these readings, all kinds of topics and things are going to come up, and you're going to find out, what ones you like to read on, also what ones you're good
Hmm.
reading on,
Hmm.
and I found in a lot of the unregulated industries, so life coaching, hypnotherapy, Reiki practitioner, tarot reader, numerologist, astrologer, energy healing, EFT, all that, is the majority of us, whether we've uh, taken a course and maybe got certified as a hypnotherapist, or became a tarot reader, we tend to think in our minds, I want to read for everybody because I can. And I want to do hypnotherapy for everything, you know, and life coaching. I can coach anybody, and I want to coach lots and lots of different people, But that's, they used to say the riches are in the niches, and especially tarot readers. Out of that whole group, I think tarot readers are the worst, because it's never been looked at that way, going back over the history of professional tarot reading. It's always been, I'm a tarot reader, and in fact, worse, I'm a fortune teller, and I'm just going to throw cards down and tell you what I see, and there's your fortune. Whereas today it's more like, we're seen as inexpensive psychotherapists
Yes.
and
No,
life
absolutely.
and life coaches.
Mm-hmm.
People want
Yeah.
a life coach, but they don't want to spend $2,000 for a life coaching program, so they hire a tarot reader.
Yeah. And
And,
I actually did do a life coaching course on like
oh,
Udemy.
great.
Yeah. Yeah. So I didn't like print it out and be like, I'm a life coach now. I was like,
Yeah.
no, like, but it helped. I highly suggest that to anyone. And I
Hmm.
actually did mention that in the book of doing some kind of life coaching learning because it actually helps with reading how you deliver. It helps with your delivery because
Hmm.
you can look at a card and instead of telling the client, you could start asking them questions.
Right.
And you're pulling out information from the person, but it's not only that you're pulling it out from for your use, you're pulling it out so they make them think.
Hmm.
And that's like very important because when people ask me, especially I explain it to especially someone who has never had a tarot reading. They sit down and that's my first question after I ask them their name, after we exchange names. Have you ever had a tarot reading before? And if the answer is no, and they quite don't understand what's going on, I say, look, this is a tool. I use the tool, the tarot as a tool for guidance
Hmm.
and counseling and to help you either see a situation from a different side and play devil's advocate or to help you make an educated decision about something. So I'm always leaving the power in their hands. I'm just here to provide guidance, and what you do with that guidance is completely up to them.
Absolutely. And so we don't think of it that way. We think of, oh, well, I'm just going to read the cards, and they're going to come to me with the romance question, the finance question, all the typical things, usual suspects. But if you are really drawn to or really good at a particular kind of reading, it really is worthwhile to double down on that.
Mhm.
Be the romance expert, be the person that reads for business people, the finance reader, whatever niche that you can uh, focus on, and at the guild, God, for like 10-12 years now, we've always been recommending that professional readers take a life coaching course. We have one that we promote from Dr. Steve Jones. We've been promoting that for like 12 years now, and it's available on the Tarot Guild site. And here in the description of this video, I'm going to put a link to that. I'll put a link to the life coaching course. I'll put a link to obviously your book and so forth. And folks can find you on the Tarot Guild website, of course, and you have Card Shaper on there, but they can look you up under Nicole. Uh, so, what's other ways people can contact you, and where can they find you out there in the world?
I have a website which is a link tree, so it will link out to scheduling readings. It'll link
Hmm.
out to all my other social media. So on
Oh, I
Instagram,
really liked that. I
yeah,
went there and I was like, oh, that's really cool.
yeah. So that's in the book too.
Yeah, I'll get that in the description. I'll link to that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So my website is cardshaper.com. And then if you just want to go directly onto Instagram, that is my socials. I'm Cardshaper Tarot.
Awesome. Awesome. So lastly, the how we've gone in into life coaching and niching and all these business aspects. It's kind of come to this part where I had written down to ask you, so where do you think the business of tarot is going?
I really think that we have been in a shift. Like we said earlier, we've been in a shift since 2020,
Mm,
where people are really not only just questioning their spirituality, but questioning now their place in the world. And I think that tarot readers, good tarot readers, are needed more now than ever.
mm,
And
I agree.
and the other thing about the counseling, like you said, there's it's crazy because there's a stigma around going to therapy still, and there's a stigma around going to a tarot reader, but the stigma around a tarot reader is less than
It's
going to
less.
therapy.
Yes, that's exactly what I was thinking. You know, it's like
So
you'd rather tell your Aunt Sally that you went and had a tarot reading than say you're in counseling. It's
yeah,
awful. It's
yeah.
awful.
and
Uh,
and that's the thing, we deal with very real issues.
mhm,
I've dealt with readings on addiction. I've dealt with readings on, adultery. Like I've seen a lot. I in my I mean, so I've been professionally reading, yeah, a little over a year. I've done close to 550 readings now, and I mean, what people will tell us, they won't even tell their own husband or their own spouse, I
mhm,
should say. You know,
absolutely.
and we have to create that safe space for them. And there's a lot of people out there that are hurting, and they're looking for any way that they can to heal, and they're coming to us whether we like it or not, and we have to be prepared for that. So
Awesome.
I definitely think that we're more necessary now than ever, because we're helping them spiritually heal.
So, what's next for you, Nicole?
Holy cow. I would absolutely love to go to Salem to do readings. That's like the new thing that I'm putting out in the universe. I don't I feel like that would be amazing. Um to just, go for a weekend or a day or whatever and go do readings somewhere in Salem. I have a couple other ideas and theories for books in the back of my brain that I'm
Mhm.
sketching out right now. And I'm learning Lenormand.
Oh, wow, cool.
Yeah. So that's another layer that I'm going to be adding in. Probably, I would think, probably by the end of the year. I'm still in a
Mm,
very learning practice kind of phase. So, I'm doing readings, I'm doing tarot readings, and then I'll throw a Lenormand spread, as a side thing, and say, hey, take this with a grain of salt. Like, if it makes sense. And, so I'm actually doing that right now. But yeah, I am trying to, increase my cartomancy skills overall with different modalities.
excellent. Well, this has been a lot of fun. Thanks for agreeing to do this,
Thank you for
hanging out
having
with
me.
me.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yep. And I look forward to, it'd be really cool to have you on one of our live shows when we're taking phone calls and doing readings, pulling some cards for people,
sure.
and like we mentioned earlier, a workshop on how to kickstart your business. We should talk
I Yes, we definitely
about it.
we definitely do, because I kind of have a feeling that this is. I have a feeling that this book is just like the beginning. That I almost feel like it's gonna like morph into a consulting kind of gig as well, and
I
I
like
welcome
that
that.
idea.
I welcome that. So yeah,
Tarot reader to the tarot readers, consultant
yeah,
to the consultants. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, Everybody, thank you for joining us today, and we'll see you on another episode of Tarot Today. Bye, everybody.
Bye.